Good evening and welcome to another edition, to the 43rd edition of the LIVRESQ Empower Your Teaching webinar. It's a pleasure to be here. We have an interesting topic today, and it's a topic that causes some confusion at times, and I'm excited to talk about it. It's about actually reviewing the work you do in LIVRESQ and what levels you can do that with. I'll also go over how the platform is structured because this is actually a good reflection on how we can preview our creations or how we can preview the courses we've created. So it's going to be a little bit about basics, about the basics of how the platform is built. We won't focus very much on content, but we'll focus on how we can test out this content and how we can make sure that the content is where it's supposed to be. And it's really important to review content, whether you're publishing it, whether you're exporting it as form or publishing it in the LIVRESQ library. It's a good idea to check on the work you've done, to check if everything is okay, if you've covered all your bases. The way this meeting works in general, whether you're the first time here or whether you're here for the first time or if it's something you've attended before. So what we do is, if you've joined us on Zoom, you know that there was a form that you could fill in. I've looked through these questions and I'll try to answer them towards the end. If you have any other questions, if you're on Zoom, you can turn on your microphone and you can join me and ask me. You can interrupt me if the questions are about what I'm presenting. If you've joined us and if you're watching us on Facebook, then you can drop a comment. I'll get back to you. I see the comments in real time. If you're watching a recording of this, whether you're watching it on Facebook or on YouTube, please remember that you can leave a comment with your questions and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. One of my colleagues will get back to you as soon as possible. Right, so in order to begin, I'll share my screen, I'll share LIVRESQ, and we'll talk about previewing our work, seeing exactly what the learners, what our students are seeing, and again, how the platform is built so that we can really focus on the levels we can view our work in. Resharing my screen right now, just a second. So here we are. This is the inside of a LIVRESQ project. All the courses that we create in LIVRESQ are structured as projects, which means that we have one or more sections. Right now, if you create a default project, which is what I've done here, this is an empty project without anything inside it. I haven't used AI, I haven't used a template. This is a simple project. The platform calls it project whatever number you're at, because this is automatically according to how many blank projects you've started. It automatically has at least one section. So we know already that in LIVRESQ we have this box. It looks like a document box. We call it a project. And inside that box, we have at least one document. And the section really is the place where you add all of your content. So whether it's images, text, all sorts of interactive resources that you can add, all sorts of games, all sorts of questionnaires, everything you add in, everything that is your content is added inside a section. And a project can have one section or multiple sections. Now, the trick is to really know what it looks like for your students is to preview everything you do as much as possible, but especially to preview it once at the very end. And in order to preview, which is the subject of tonight, we have this little icon here that's in the shape of an eye. It says view mode when I hover my mouse over it. I can do this on every level. And what I mean is right here, I'm at project level and I can preview what my project contains. If I click on here, there's nothing here because I haven't edited the project. It's a completely blank project. In order to exit the view mode, I will click on it again. I can do it in the same way from inside a section. So if I double click my section, I'm now where the content is. I don't have any content yet, but I can preview my project up here as well. This will only preview my section. I also get to see the elements that are up here, the top bar. We have a meeting dedicated to the top bar and how to edit and add things to the top bar. This also can feature a table of contents, and other information that you might want to add. We have the possibility to edit this, and we can view it from inside the section. So we can preview a project from inside from the project level. If I had multiple sections, I could preview them only by using the view mode here. I can preview my section. And once I add different bits of elements, for instance, I can add an image, maybe I add a video, I can sort of see what it looks like inside my section, but I won't be able to interact, especially with interactive, not the image. There's nothing to interact with in an image, but in a video, I cannot play this video unless I'm in view mode. I cannot play it inside the section. So that's why it's useful to go in preview mode for the entire section, and here I'll mute it, but I can play the video and I can see what it looks like. This is the simplest way to use it. I keep adding things, I keep adding content inside my section, and then at the very end, when I'm done with it, I can preview my section, and then if I have multiple sections, I can preview the entire project. But what LIVRESQ does is give you the opportunity to preview elements, all the elements actually that you have here. You can preview them one by one. And what I mean by that is the fact that in LIVRESQ, what you can do is preview a row, preview a cell, or preview the resource itself. Now, before I develop on that, I'd like to explain a little bit on how about how a resource of a LIVRESQ section is structured. Because inside LIVRESQ, we have these little rectangles, these little boxes that have different names, and they exist because they allow us to make content that is responsive and that automatically adapts to multiple screen dimensions. This might be a little bit tricky, if you will, and a little bit not 100% intuitive. And that's why it's useful for me to explain what these boxes are and why and how they're distributed in terms of, I mean, how they're distributed one inside the other, because they're kind of like a skeleton you can build on. So in our LIVRESQ section, we have rows. And once I click on them once, if I single click on a row, then I can select it. Right now I've selected my first row. If I select one of these elements, I have this little menu here that also has the preview icon, the little eye, which allows me to preview that row in the context of my section, but it doesn't preview the rest of the section. So I have rows. Rows will always appear one under the other. Then inside my row, I have a cell or multiple cells. And inside that cell, I have the resource itself. All the content that I add, which by content I mean the actual resource, whether it's a text, an image, or a video, needs to be added inside a cell. I can have rows with 2 cells that I just add. I added it here. I'll add it at the top. I have a row with 2 cells here. I can have a row with 3 cells, which allows me to add 3 types of content. I've added a quiz, an accordion, and a hotspots resource. So right now I have a row with 3 cells. Now, if I wanted more, I can keep, because whenever I select one of the cells, I have the same menu, and one of the options here is to duplicate it. And this will duplicate the cell and everything that's contained inside the cell. So once I select something, I have access to this menu that also allows me to preview that bit of content. So I can preview my row, I can preview my cell, or I can preview the resource itself. It already means that I don't have to look at my entire section, for instance, to see what this quiz is about. I can just select the quiz itself or the cell containing the quiz, and I'll just have to preview that quiz itself. Now, the reason why these elements exist and the reason why LIVRESQ is structured this way, again, is because it needs to adapt and be responsive on any size of device. If you want to see what it looks like, you can either squeeze the window or simulate a phone, for instance. On a phone, because the screen is it's much narrower, all of my cells will be distributed one under the other. So I still have my row, but instead of the cells being together on a row, I now have 4 cells that are one under the other so that they're 100% interactive and they can be clicked on a mobile phone. That's why sort of these elements exist. It's useful to know about this structure when you want to arrange things, especially for a bigger screen, or to understand why just dragging and dropping different bits of content, for instance, a tab resource somewhere, might generate a different cell instead of putting it on a different row. If I wanted my tabs to be on a different row alone, first I'd add this row, drag and drop it, and then move the tabs there. So I need to move content to a cell because all content needs to be placed inside a cell. And the reason why there isn't a lot of freedom on how you can stick things around and you need to stick them inside cells that are located inside rows is because everything again needs to be responsive and needs to adapt very easily to the size of the screen that your students or your learners are looking at the content. And again, regardless of what element I select, whether I select a row, a cell, or the resource itself, I have the opportunity to view that resource. What is more, most resources, when I edit them, and to edit something in LIVRESQ, you need to double click. When I'm in edit mode, right now we're in edit mode, we see all these lines. In preview mode, everything is interactive. But in order to actually edit the content and to change it to whatever I need the content to be, the principle is very simple. We double click. And once we double click, we're in edit mode. All edit modes for resources and for content, for resources, also have a view mode. So if I wanted to see what my tabs looks like, I can click on here and I can see what the resource itself looks like. In order to go back to my section, I can click on the section title. I always have the breadcrumbs here that lead me and tell me exactly where I am. I'm in project 37, in section number 1, I'm looking at tabs. So again, this allows me to, LIVRESQ really allows me to see any item that I add, any piece of content, to see what it looks like, to see what what it would be like for my student to interact with that piece of content. So I have everything right there. Now just for troubleshooting, before I move on to answering some of your questions, just for troubleshooting, very important thing to consider is that when I have multiple sections and I create, for instance, a button that would lead me to the next section, I will never be able to preview the next section if I use the button here. Just a very quick demonstration because I know that was a lot of words. So I'm just going to add a second section, and here we're going to say second section. I'll just write it like this, second section, right? And I'll add a bookmark here. It's already added. I'll change the name of my bookmark to second section. What I can do in LIVRESQ is create a button that will link from the first section to the second section. And in order to create that button, I can use one of the non-interactive resources, like a text, for instance. I can just write the title, next section. And from the right-hand side, once I've selected the text, okay, it seems like the live on Facebook is stopped. That's why I've stopped talking. Hopefully it will work. Okay, so once I have this here, I can give it an action, and the action can be to follow the bookmark, which will lead me to the second section. If I go into view mode, from the section level, the platform will tell me that the location is missing. I cannot click it. It's impossible for me to use it. If I want to see it, And to have this button be active, then what I can do is go into view mode for my entire project. So I was in project level here where I see both my sections, and that's when this button will become available and I can move to the next section. Let me just figure out what's going on with the live on Facebook. Just give me 1 second. Should work. Okay. Just 1 second. Okay. We're almost done. This was the main idea, to give you the option of previewing for the entire project. And again, it depends a lot on what it looks like. Next, if there are no questions either on Facebook or here, please, please let me know if there are questions. Again, if you're watching a recording of this, you can leave them in the comments, and one member of our team will get back to you as soon as possible. But there was one question in the form that I really wanted to answer, which was about centering in the middle of the page, using code to center something that we add from outside LIVRESQ, so a resource that we add from outside LIVRESQ, to center it to the middle of the page. And that was a code question, because we can add the iframe code, in order to embed a resource from outside LIVRESQ inside LIVRESQ, which we've shown before. And this is what it looks like. The resource in preview mode is now 100% interactive. We can scroll through it. We can click on it. It's interactive. And we can go into view mode and see how it's interactive. The question was what to do with the code if we want it to be centered. Sometimes the window itself, the embedded content itself, is narrower. And the question was how to style it, or how to write it in code and make it so it appears in the middle. And this is just code, which allows us to style the paragraph and to align everything at the center. So it's p style equal, and this is what the code looks like. You can use any AI to figure out that code. It just needs to be on the paragraph. And now the interaction itself will always appear in the middle of the box. So it's just the code on the P for the paragraph. You can just click on it and change its style to center. And this is one of the questions on what to do with the P, with the paragraph code. Okay, another question, we had two questions about receiving certificates for this webinar. We do not issue certificates for webinars. We only issue certificates for courses. Okay, and I think I answered most of the questions that had to do anything with preview. Again, we can do it for all levels. One more thing that is worth mentioning is the fact that we can also preview multiple elements at a time. So inside a LIVRESQ section, we can preview, for instance, multiple rows. I can select multiple rows by holding down the control button, on my keyboard. So I've selected one row by single clicking it, and then I can select a second row by holding control and clicking that as well. And then I have the menu that doesn't appear at the top of the element like you've seen, but it appears up here in black. And this allows me to preview just the rows or the elements I've selected. And you can do this at all levels. You can 100% use this to preview certain resources and to preview some of your section without having to preview the entire section. And one more thing, again, a more sort of almost advanced information. When we have barriers, once we've unlocked a barrier, and I'll preview it like this, or actually I'll preview the entire section, but we'll add the barrier after something interactive, maybe an accordion, not an image. So if I preview here, what the barrier does is not let me move on unless I interact with the closest interactive content to it. So I can click on each title, and then only after I finished clicking on each title does the barrier activate. Once I've activated a barrier, I don't see it anymore. It's gone. Its role was performed, it's gone, I don't see it. If I want to see it again, I can preview the course again, or I can reset my progress inside the course, which works, and now I have the barrier again. But once I unlock it and click on it to move on, it disappears. We've had this troubleshooted a lot, people saying that they've added barriers and that they don't see them anymore. It's because the barrier only appears once, the first time you go through a course. And if you have your course exported in SCORM, featured in an LMS platform, if you have it exported in the LIVRESQ library, once you've gone through the course, it remembers your progress and it will not show you the barrier again. So this is very important to note. Okay. Are there any questions either on Facebook or here on Zoom? Again, if you're watching a recording of this, leave your comments and we'll get back to you. We're here once every other Thursday, so every 2 weeks, and we discuss a particular feature of LIVRESQ. So let us know for your questions and anything else you may need. You can write to us at any time. You can register for the next webinar. You'll get a notification in the app about it. And thank you very much for watching this, or thank you very much for taking part in this. And I will see you in 2 weeks. Have a great evening.